Hello and welcome to the channel. Today I want to share with you another tip on how you can improve the performance of your application. So this is going to be a continuation of our performance series on how you can optimize the performance of your SaaS application. If you're building a SaaS application, this video is for you. So let's dive right into it. Inside my VS Code, I have my application here, the main project that we've been working on in this series. So what I did here is that I set the migrations to be done in the background. So what I noticed that whenever I onboarded a new client, there was a lag in performance. Like it usually took like 1 to 2 minutes to be able to complete the entire process. So what we're going to do here is to offload some of the tasks to be handled by Celery in the background. So to show you the setup, I do have Celery and Redis configured. I'm using the Heroku Redis as well as Django Celery. So that one was covered in the previous video. So in this one, I'm just going to go straight on how you can actually onboard a new client and let Celery handle the migration in the background. So just to give you a quick demo of how it looks like, I'm going to go inside my admin dashboard. I'm going to say add a new tenant. Then I'm just going to hit save to onboard this client. So in the previous video you saw that whenever you're onboarding the client, I set the auto migrate to true. So that normally takes a lot of time and hurts the general user experience. So what's going to happen here is that we're going to save it. It will save, then Celery will handle the task of migration and also sending emails. So let's save this one. And as you can see, the tenant has been successfully saved. Then if I were to check inside my Heroku logs, so if I go to my Heroku worker, this is where Celery is. You can see that it has started the migration for the schema, and also the database schema has been created. Let's just watch the logs carefully. It's telling us that the tenant vision credit has been successfully created, and now it will do the migration in the background. So an SMS also has been sent to my phone to welcome the new client. And then if you check the email, you can see that we have a new email that is welcoming the newly onboarded client. All through the background, no waiting time, no timeouts, just as simple as that. So that is how you can use Heroku, Redis and Celery to just generally do some tasks that can take a lot of time in the background. So you can see that the tenant was created, the email was sent, an SMS has also been sent with the login credentials to my phone, as well as the migrations itself. So if you work with Django tenants, you know that if you set auto migrate to true, it normally takes some time. So but with this one, everything is handled in the background. The tenant is saved, and if you view the status of the tenant, you can see that the status is active. So the first time that you saved it, status was set to pending. Then during the migration, it was creating, setting up, active, and just in case it failed, the status will be set up failed. So you can know whether it went through or not. So that is the walkthrough that I want to take you through, how you can onboard your client and offload some tasks, some heavy tasks to be handled in the background. So back to my VS Code, what I have here is I do have an app called the onboarding. This is what handles the onboarding, such as creating the admin. Then I also have another app called Tenants. This is where the actual model for the tenants is, as well as the signals module. So we'll start by the signals module to see what's going on. So this time I changed to post save signal, not the post schema sync for the Django tenants, because the post schema sync takes a lot of time. So the name of the signal here is the post save. Then our receiver function is the handle tenant creation. So whenever a new tenant has been created, we just set the instance to pending. Then of course these are just for logging. We just log in what's going on. For example, the organization name, that is what you saw inside my Heroku logs. Then we update the status to from pending, we set it now to creating. Then now what we do here is to just set Celery Celery task always eager to set to false. This is just for testing in the local host. Then after that, after using the try except block, we just now we just set the create tenant schema, which is a task that has been created in a app. I'll show you where the task is. This is just the task that we want to run whenever a new tenant has been saved. So it's called create tenant schema. Then we just delay it. So that is it for the signal. Inside my onboarding application, I do have two important modules. The first one is the services.py as well as the task. So let's look at the services. Services is the main class that handles everything. So we have a class that just initializes the services that we have in various applications. For example, I do have email service, which is for handling emails, also SMS service for sending SMS. The subscription service is for creating a trial subscription. Whenever a new client is onboarded, you want to add a trial subscription, so that's the subscription service, as well as invoice and tenant admin service for creating the admin. So remember, we want to create an admin. Whenever we add a new client, we automatically create an admin and send them the login credential via email. So the tenant admin service is what will handle the admin creation. So that is just the initialization. Then we do have now the main class, the method here that is called tenant, create tenant admin. So we're just trying to get it. So we already have the self.admin service defined at the very top, so we just use self to be able to access it. Then the name of the method itself is create tenant admin. So if it's not, just return some error. As well as emails, we are just importing the email service from our communication application, same to sending of SMS. Then this one is for finalizing onboarding, just to change the status. For example, if the tenant status is active, then we just want to mark it as completed. So let's look at the various services that we have. We do have SMS, email, as well as the tenant admin. So if you go to communications application, you can see that we do have services. Then we have the email service and the SMS service. So let's explore this. So this is for sending the emails. So we do have the send welcome email, which is the method that we just use inside our tenant onboarding. So it basically just has the subject, the full name, the login URL for the tenants to log in, as well as the raw password. For the subject, I have configured my email backend inside my settings.py file. Send invoice, we're not going to cover sending invoice in this one, so that one will cover in the next video. As well as the SMS service, basically the same thing. Then that is for the communication. We also have the tenant onboarding, that is the tenant service. It's inside my Django, it's inside the tenant app. So you do have services. Then we have the admin service. This is where we handle the admin creation. So we just create the tenant admin, we get the user at the get user model. So remember, I'm using the custom user models, that's why I'm using the get user model here. Then the raw password, then the staff ID. Once again, that's also a random number for just identifying the staff. We need to give them a staff ID. Then we just do the user creation, user.objects.create tenant admin. Of course, this create tenant admin is a custom thing. It's inside my accounts application. Then inside admin, now models, custom user, you can see that I do have custom. Now this super admin, we have the create tenant admin, and also we have the create super admin. So those are the two main methods that are defined inside my custom user manager. So let's go back to the tenant. Then we just return the admin user. Remember to do that. So once you have everything, the last bit is now to just configure your tasks. So inside onboarding, we do have the services. The starting tasks that you want to have. We have a lot of tasks. We have the create tenant task. We also have create tenant, admin, and notify. Then we also have these ones over here. They're not really important, but they're just used to just help you like track down any error that might have gone. And also this clean up failed tenants, just used to clean up any failed tenant creation, so it can clean up and delete the schema, drop the schema I mean. Then you can also use this one to monitor the tenant provisioning. Then this one is just for validating the task. So what we really want to focus on is the create tenant, admin, and notify. So this is what will create an admin and also notify. By notifying, we mean that sending emails and SMS. So we're just using bind to true. That enables us to use the self. If you want to use self, remember to set bind to true. And also auto retry. This is maybe if you want to retry the task. Then max retries, I've set it to 3 and count down to 60. Alright, so remember to import the tenant onboarding service. It's the service that I just showed you. Then we want to get the tenant. Of course, you need to get the tenant by the tenant ID. So that's why we are saying. Then we want to verify if the tenant is active. So it's active. We just set if the tenant status that is active. We just do some logs. That's just a simple check. Then now we set the service. This is really important. The service, remember we had a service inside our own services.py, so we just initialize it, and the service that we want is the tenant onboarding service, which we need to pass in the tenant object inside it. So remember to pass the tenant object. That is what will be used to be able to create the new tenant admin. So with the schema context, we just want to create the admin within the schema context. So we just give it the service dot create tenant admin. Remember we did have the create tenant admin inside our onboarding class. Then the next one, after creating the admin, now we pass the new task, that is the new service, that is send welcoming email. Again, we're just doing some simple logins to be able to check if it's true. So lastly, we are also sending a welcoming SMS. So that is it for our create admin and also notify the tenants. And then lastly, we're just logging. We're just using the try exit block to return some logs if the tenant does not exist. That is it for the create admin and also notify. It basically creates an admin and also sends notifications to the clients. That is how it works. So that's it for today. If you like the video, remember to give it a like, subscribe, and also comment. See you in the next one.